The Galactic Council's nuclear assault on Earth in 2145 was meant to end humanity. Instead, it ignited a firestorm of retaliation that would shake the foundations of the cosmos. Darren Burns stood in the command center of the underground military bunker, his eyes fixed on the screens displaying the devastation above. Major cities across the globe lay in ruins, billions of lives snuffed out in an instant. The unprovoked attack had caught Earth off guard, despite its rapid technological advancements and expansion into space. As the radiation levels outside began to subside, Darren, a 35-year-old former United Earth Space Force colonel, prepared to face the shattered world above. The bunker's blast doors groaned open, revealing a landscape of ash and destruction. Amidst the rubble, Darren's communicator crackled to life with an encrypted message from the late president of United Earth. The holographic projection flickered into existence, revealing the president's grim face. "Colonel Burns, if you're receiving this, then our worst fears have come to pass. But we were not unprepared. Hidden throughout our solar system is a fleet of 500,000 advanced dreadnoughts, each capable of destroying entire planets. This technology, reverse-engineered from a crashed alien vessel found on Mars a decade ago, is now humanity's last hope. Your mission, Colonel, is to lead our retaliation against the Galactic Council." Darren's jaw clenched as he absorbed the magnitude of the task before him. Without hesitation, he activated the emergency network, connecting with surviving military personnel and scientists scattered across the globe. The launch sequence for the Dreadnought fleet was initiated, a testament to human ingenuity and foresight. As Earth survivors rallied behind this newfound hope, Darren boarded the flagship, christened Vengeance. The massive vessel hummed with power as he took his place on the bridge, assuming command of humanity's counter-attack force. Light years away on the Galactic Council's capital world of Elysia Prime, dissent brewed. Ilara, an Elysian diplomat, voiced her opposition to the attack on Earth. "We could have peacefully integrated humans into our galactic community," she argued, her words falling on deaf ears as the Council's majority dismissed her concerns. Driven by conscience, Ilara made a decision that would alter the course of the coming conflict. In secret, she transmitted tactical information about the Council's defenses to Earth, believing that humans deserved a fighting chance. As Darren prepared to lead the massive human fleet into the heart of Galactic Council space, Ilara's transmission arrived, providing crucial intelligence for the impending battle. The odds, while still daunting, had shifted ever so slightly in humanity's favor. Standing on the bridge of the Vengeance, Darren addressed the fleet. "Today, we fight not just for vengeance, but for the very survival of our species. The Galactic Council thought they could exterminate us with their nuclear fire. They were wrong. Now, we will show them the true strength of humanity." With Earth in ruins behind them, and the fate of the human race hanging in the balance, Darren gave the order. The fleet of 500,000 dreadnoughts surged forward, their engines igniting like newborn stars. The Galactic Council had sown the wind with their attack on Earth. Now, they would reap the whirlwind. The fleet of 500,000 dreadnoughts surged through space, their massive engines propelling them towards the heart of Galactic Council territory. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Colonel Darren Burns surveyed the holographic display of their armada, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Status report," he commanded, turning to his newly appointed Chief Tactical Officer, Lieutenant Sarah Chen. Chen, a former commercial pilot with a knack for strategy, pulled up a detailed readout on her console. "Sir, we've completed the initial training rotations for civilian crews on decks 15 through 30. Proficiency is improving, but we're still facing challenges with the more complex weapon systems." Darren nodded, unsurprised. The majority of their crews were civilians, teachers, engineers, and office workers thrust into roles they never imagined. "Double the simulation time for gunnery teams. We can't afford mistakes when we engage the enemy." As he issued orders, coordinating the massive logistical undertaking of preparing their makeshift armada, a priority alert flashed on the main view screen. Lieutenant Chen's eyes widened as she analyzed the data. "Colonel, we've detected a Galactic Council patrol fleet at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system, 3 light cruisers and a support vessel. Darren's mind raced, weighing the risks and potential rewards. This was an opportunity they couldn't pass up. Signal the Intrepid and the Defiant. We're going to capture one of those ships. Within minutes, a strike team was assembled. Darren watched from the Vengeance as the 2 human dreadnoughts approached the unsuspecting Galactic Council patrol. The alien ships, dwarfed by the massive human vessels, barely had time to raise shields before precision strikes disabled their engines and weapons. For 30 agonizing minutes, Darren waited as the strike team fought their way through the alien vessel. Finally, his comm crackled to life. "Colonel Burns, this is Captain Rodriguez. We've secured the Galactic Council light cruiser. You're not going to believe what we've found." Hours later, Darren stood in the Vengeance's main laboratory, surrounded by a team of Earth's brightest minds. Dr. Emily Sato, a xenotechnology expert, manipulated a holographic representation of the captured ship's communication array. "It's ingenious, really," she explained, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Their entire military network relies on these faster-than-light relays, but that's also their weakness. If we can disrupt enough of these hubs—" She trailed off, the implications clear. Darren leaned forward, studying the complex web of information flows. How many would we need to hit to cripple their command and control? Dr. Sato consulted her datapad. "Based on our analysis, taking out 3 major relay stations should create enough chaos to give us a significant advantage." With this new intelligence, Darren formulated a daring plan. He divided the fleet into 4 task forces, 3 to strike at the heart of the Galactic Council's communication network, and 1, led by the Vengeance, to press the attack on their core worlds. As the human armada approached their first target, a massive relay station orbiting a swirling gas giant, alarms blared across the bridge of the Vengeance. On the main view screen, a swarm of sleek predatory ships emerged from the swirling storms of the gas giant. At their center loomed a behemoth of a vessel, easily rivaling the Vengeance in size. "Incoming transmission," Chen reported, her voice tight with tension. The screen flickered, revealing a towering reptilian figure. Its scales shimmered with an iridescent sheen, and its yellow eyes gleamed with cold intelligence. "I am Admiral Zexthar of the Galactic Council Defense Force," the alien intoned, its voice a guttural growl. "Your pitiful species was meant to be eradicated. I will finish what the Council started." Darren met the alien's gaze unflinchingly. "You attacked our world without provocation. We're here to return the favor." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Battle stations, all ships engage at will. Show them what humanity is capable of." The space around the gas giant erupted in a frenzy of weapons fire. Human dreadnoughts unleashed salvos of devastating energy beams, cutting through Galactic Council ships with terrifying efficiency. But Zexthar's forces were not to be underestimated. Their smaller, more agile craft danced through the human formation, landing punishing blows. The battle raged for hours, a brutal testament to the drive of both sides. In the end, it was Darren's unconventional tactics that tipped the scales. Using the gas giant's powerful magnetic field to mask their movements, he led a daring flanking maneuver that caught Zexthar's flagship exposed. As the Admiral's ship erupted in a spectacular explosion, the remaining Galactic Council vessels broke formation and fled. The relay station, now undefended, fell quickly to the human assault. In the aftermath of the battle, Darren received the casualty reports with a heavy heart. They had won, but at a terrible cost. Thousands of dreadnoughts destroyed, hundreds of thousands of lives lost. As he contemplated their next move, an urgent transmission came through from Earth. Dr. Emily Chen, her face haggard, but eyes bright with excitement, appeared on the screen. "Colonel Burns, we've made a discovery that could change everything," she said without preamble. "In the ruins of a council research facility, we found references to an artifact called the Nexus. It's some kind of ancient superweapon, capable of controlling or destroying entire star systems." Darren leaned forward, his mind racing with the implications. "Where is it?" "That's the thing," Chen replied. "It's hidden on a world near the galactic core, but Colonel, The energy readings we're detecting, they're off the charts and growing more unstable by the day. In that moment, Darren knew their mission had changed. This was no longer just about vengeance or even survival. The fate of the entire galaxy could hang in the balance. He turned to his second-in-command, Major Jake Rodriguez. "Jake, I'm putting you in charge of continuing our assault on the Council's communication network. Take 2/3 of the fleet and keep pushing forward." Rodriguez nodded, understanding the weight of the responsibility. "And you, sir?" Darren's eyes hardened with commitment. "I'm taking our best ships and crews to find this nexus. We need to secure it before the Council realizes what they have, or before it tears the galaxy apart." As the fleet divided, Darren set course for the mysterious world that held the nexus. But as they journeyed deeper into uncharted space, energy readings from the planet grew increasingly erratic. Whatever the nexus was, it was clear they were running out of time to contain its power. Little did Darren know, Admiral Zexthar had survived the destruction of his flagship. As the humans raced towards the nexus, the vengeful alien commander gathered his remaining forces, determined to stop them at any cost. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the future of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy. The vastness of space stretched before Darren Burns as he stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, his eyes fixed on the swirling ethereal clouds of the galactic core. His elite force of Dreadnoughts pushed forward, their massive engines propelling them towards the mysterious planet that housed the Nexus. A priority transmission from Major Jake Rodriguez flickered to life on the main view screen. "Colonel, our strikes against the Council's communication network have been successful. We've taken out 5 major relay stations in the past 72 hours. Darren nodded, a grim satisfaction settling over him. "Excellent work, Major. How are their forces responding?" "Chaos, sir," Rodriguez replied, a hint of pride in his voice. "Their ship movements are erratic, defensive patterns uncoordinated. We're pressing our advantage." As Darren processed this information, Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through his thoughts. "Sir, we're approaching the target system. Sensors are detecting unusual energy readings from the third planet." The view screen shifted, displaying an azure world wreathed in wispy clouds. As they drew closer, the ship's sensors revealed sprawling cityscapes covering entire continents, remnants of a long-dead civilization. Within hours, Darren led a team to the planet's surface, their shuttles touching down on the outskirts of a colossal metropolis. The air was thin but breathable, and an eerie silence permeated the abandoned streets. "Fan out," Darren commanded, his voice low. "Keep your eyes open for anything unusual." "Colonel Burns," Dr. Chen's voice crackled through his comms. "We're detecting a massive energy signature at the city center. It has to be the Nexus." Darren opened his mouth to respond when a high-pitched whine filled the air. The ground trembled beneath their feet as massive metallic forms rose from hidden compartments in the streets and buildings. The air filled with the staccato of gunfire as Darren's team engaged the robotic guardians. These ancient machines moved with surprising speed and precision, their energy weapons carving swaths of destruction through the human forces. Darren quickly assessed the situation. "Lieutenant Reyes, take half the team and hold this position. Keep those things occupied. The rest of you with me. We're pushing through to the Nexus." As Reyes's team laid down suppressing fire, Darren led his group through the winding streets, the distant whine of energy weapons and the crash of falling debris echoing behind them. They fought their way through waves of guardians, each encounter leaving them with fewer soldiers and dwindling ammunition. Finally, they reached the base of a towering structure that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. Its surface was covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as Darren watched. "This is it," he breathed, touching his comm unit. "Dr. Chen, we've reached the structure. How do we get inside?" As Chen began to explain, a new alarm blared through Darren's comms. "Colonel!" It was Lieutenant Sarah Chen from the Vengeance. "We've detected multiple hostile ships entering the system. It's Admiral Zexthar." Darren's mind raced. They were out of time. "Engage the enemy fleet. Buy us as much time as you can." In orbit, human dreadnoughts clashed with Zexthar's forces. Energy beams and missiles crisscrossed the void, turning the planet's night sky into a dazzling, deadly light show. On the surface, Darren's team fought their way into the structure housing the Nexus. The interior was a maze of corridors lined with more holographic displays, these showing the creation and purpose of the Nexus itself. It was a weapon, Darren muttered, watching scenes of the artifact's power destroying entire star systems, a last resort against some kind of cosmic threat. They pressed on, following Dr. Chen's guidance until they reached a vast chamber at the heart of the building. There, suspended in a field of crackling energy, floated a massive crystalline structure, the Nexus. As Darren approached, the artifact pulsed, waves of energy washing over him. He reached out, following Chen's instructions to interface with the alien technology. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The Nexus flared with blinding light, its energy output spiking dangerously. Darren's mind raced. They couldn't let this power fall into the wrong hands, but they also couldn't let it destroy the entire system. "Everyone out," he ordered. "We're rigging this place to blow." As his team scrambled to plant explosives, Darren worked feverishly at the Nexus's control systems, trying to contain its energy long enough for them to escape. The air crackled with power, and he could feel the heat building around him. Just as the last charges were set, a new transmission cut through their comms. "This is Captain Rodriguez. Admiral Zexthar's flagship has been critically damaged. He's crash-landing near your position." Darren's blood ran cold. If Zexthar reached the Nexus before they could destroy it. "Everyone out now," Darren shouted. "Get to the extraction point. I'll finish up here." His team hesitated for a moment before following his orders. As their footsteps faded, Darren turned back to the Nexus, its pulsing energy growing more erratic by the second. Outside, the sounds of battle grew closer. Zexthar's forces had reached the city. Darren knew he was running out of time. With a deep breath, he plunged his hands into the Nexus's energy field, crying out as searing pain coursed through his body. Using sheer will, he forced the artifact's power into a contained loop, buying precious minutes for his team to escape. As he struggled to maintain control, Darren heard heavy footsteps approaching the chamber. He turned to see the towering form of Admiral Zexthar in the doorway, the alien's scales scorched and eyes burning with hatred. Darren gritted his teeth, feeling his strength waning as the Nexus's energy surged through him. "Sorry, Admiral," he managed to say, "but this ends here." With his free hand, Darren reached for the detonator. The fate of humanity, the galaxy, and perhaps the entire universe now rested on his next move. Action. The fate of humanity, the galaxy, and perhaps the entire universe now rested on his next move. Darren's mind raced, analyzing the situation with lightning speed. Destroying the Nexus outright could trigger a catastrophic explosion, potentially annihilating the entire planet and beyond. He needed another option. Zexthar's eyes narrowed, his massive frame tensed for action. Then stand aside and let those who are worthy control its power. As the alien admiral took a menacing step forward, Darren made his decision. He didn't remove his hand from the detonator, but he didn't press it either. Instead, he focused his will on the swirling energies before him, attempting to bend them to his purpose. "What are you doing?" Zexthar demanded, confusion evident in his voice. Outside the facility, Darren's team regrouped, setting up defensive positions using a combination of their own weapons and repurposed technology they'd found scattered throughout the ancient city. Lieutenant Reyes took charge, her voice steady as she issued orders. "Torres Chen, I want those plasma cannons operational 5 minutes ago," she barked. "Jackson, get on the comms. I need to know what's happening in orbit." As if in answer to her command, the sky above them lit up with brilliant flashes. The space battle had reached its climax, human dreadnoughts unleashing their full firepower against the retreating Galactic Council ships. In the chamber housing the Nexus, Darren felt the artifact beginning to respond to his efforts. The wildly fluctuating energy patterns started to stabilize, coalescing into a tightly controlled vortex. Sweat poured down his face as he worked, every muscle in his body trembling with the strain. Darren's free hand shot out, a tendril of the Nexus's energy lashing out to hold the alien at bay. "Stay back," he growled through gritted teeth. "I'm trying to save us all." The vortex of energy grew more intense, the very fabric of space-time beginning to warp around it. Darren focused all his will on containing and directing the power, creating a localized spatial distortion that would remove the nexus from normal space-time. Alarms blared throughout the facility as the ancient structure detected the growing anomaly. The floor beneath their feet trembled, chunks of ceiling raining down around them. Outside, Reyes and her team braced themselves as the ground shook. "What the hell is going on in there?" she muttered, her eyes fixed on the central structure. Her question was answered by a garbled transmission from Darren's comm unit. "Spatial distortion. Neutralize the threat. Might not make it out." Reyes's eyes widened in realization. "Colonel's sacrificing himself," she breathed. Then, snapping back to action, she shouted to her team, "Defensive positions. We hold this line no matter what." No sooner had the words left her mouth than the first wave of Zexthar's forces crested the ridge before them. Energy weapons flared to life, filling the air with deadly beams of light. The human defenders responded in kind, their repurposed ancient weapons proving devastatingly effective against the alien attackers. Inside the Nexus chamber, the spatial distortion had grown to encompass most of the room. Darren felt his body beginning to phase in and out of reality, the process more complex and dangerous than he'd anticipated. He knew he couldn't maintain control for much longer. Zexthar, driven by desperation and rage, made one final attempt to seize the artifact. He charged forward, his massive form breaking through the energy barrier Darren had erected. Time seemed to slow as Darren watched the alien admiral's clawed hand reach for the Nexus. In that moment, he made his final decision. With a surge of will, he accelerated the spatial distortion process, knowing it would likely trap him along with the artifact. The world around them began to fade, reality itself seeming to peel away in layers. Zexthar's eyes widened in shock and fear as he realized what was happening. His body, partially within the distortion field, began to twist and distort. Darren didn't answer. He couldn't. His entire being was focused on containing the Nexus's power, ensuring it would be removed from this reality without causing further destruction. In the final moments before they vanished completely, Darren allowed himself a small smile. He'd done it. The threat was neutralized. Earth, humanity, and the galaxy at large would be safe from the Nexus's power. With a final, blinding flash of light, the Nexus, Darren, and Zexthar disappeared from normal spacetime, leaving behind only a residual energy field that expanded rapidly throughout the facility. Outside, human and alien combatants alike found themselves engulfed by the strange energy. Weapons fell silent, as both sides were overcome by an indescribable sensation, their bodies tingling with newfound power. Lieutenant Reyes blinked in confusion. Looking down at her hands, they seemed to glow faintly, and she felt different, stronger, faster, more aware. In orbit, the energy wave washed over the battling fleets. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Major Jake Rodriguez gasped as he felt the change sweep through him. He watched in awe as the tactical displays showed the wave expanding outward, affecting every ship and crew member in its path. As the strange energy dissipated, Rodriguez found himself facing an unprecedented situation. The space battle had come to an abrupt halt, with both human and Galactic Council ships hanging motionless in the void, their crews likely as confused and transformed as his own. With Colonel Burns presumed lost and the immediate threat neutralized, the weight of command settled firmly on Rodriguez's shoulders. He took a deep breath, considering their next move. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen called from her station, her voice tinged with awe and uncertainty, "we're receiving transmissions from the Galactic Council ships. They're requesting a ceasefire." Rodriguez nodded slowly, his mind racing with the implications of what had just transpired. The Nexus was gone, but its power had changed them all. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in ways they had yet to fully understand. As he prepared to respond to the ceasefire request, Rodriguez couldn't help but wonder, was this the end of one conflict, or the beginning of something far more complex? Whatever lay ahead, He knew that the decisions made in the coming hours and days would shape the future of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy. Major Jake Rodriguez took a deep breath, steadying himself as the last echoes of the Nexus energy coursed through his body. The tactical displays before him showed a battlefield frozen in time, both human and Galactic Council ships suspended in eerie stillness. "Lieutenant Chen," he said, his voice firm despite the uncertainty of the moment. "Open a channel to all ships, ours and theirs." Chen's fingers danced across her console. "Channel open, sir." Rodriguez straightened his uniform and addressed the fleet. "This is Major Jake Rodriguez of the UES Vengeance. To all ships, human and Galactic Council alike, we have just witnessed an event unprecedented in galactic history. The Nexus is gone, but its power has changed us all. I propose an immediate ceasefire and invite representatives from all sides to convene for diplomatic talks on Earth." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We have an opportunity here, a chance to end this conflict and forge a new path forward. Let us not squander it." As the transmission ended, Rodriguez turned to his crew. "Set course for Earth, it's time we went home." The journey back to their homeworld was tense, filled with uncertainty. As they entered Earth's orbit, gasps of surprise echoed across the bridge. The planet below, once scarred by nuclear fire, showed signs of rapid healing. Patches of green were visible through gaps in the clouds, and the atmosphere seemed clearer than it had been in years. As the fleet descended through the atmosphere, they saw evidence of humanity's resilience. Amidst the ruins of old cities, new structures were rising, a blend of salvaged human technology and repurposed alien tech from the Dreadnoughts. Survivors moved with purpose, their efforts to rebuild clear even from high above. The Unity Dome, a massive structure of gleaming metal and translucent panels, dominated the skyline of what was once New York City. Built atop the ruins of the old United Nations headquarters, it stood as a symbol of humanity's tenacity to forge a new future. Over the next few weeks, ships from across the galaxy arrived in Earth's orbit. Vessels of various designs and sizes, carrying representatives from species that had once been bitter enemies, now came in peace. The shared experience of the Nexus transformation had opened new channels of communication and understanding. Inside the Unity Dome, Rodriguez watched as alien diplomats filed in, their eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. He recognized the Elysian delegate, Ilara, her iridescent scales shimmering as she took her seat. Despite their past as adversaries, he felt a strange kinship with her, a result, no doubt, of their shared transformation. Dr. Emily Chen took the podium, her voice steady as she addressed the assembled delegates. "The Nexus energy has fundamentally altered our biology on a quantum level," she explained, gesturing to the holographic displays behind her. "It's created a form of telepathic bond between all affected individuals, regardless of species. This bond allows for unprecedented levels of empathy and understanding." Murmurs rippled through the audience as the implications of her words sank in. Rodriguez could feel it himself, a subtle awareness of the emotions and surface thoughts of those around him. It was disconcerting, but also oddly comforting. As discussions progressed, tensions inevitably flared. Hardliners from both human and alien factions argued for continued conflict, their voices rising in anger. But each time hostilities threatened to boil over, the shared empathic bond seemed to dampen the flames of aggression. It was Ilara who finally broke the deadlock. Rising from her seat, her voice rang out clear and strong. "We stand at a crossroads," she said, her gaze sweeping across the assembly. "We can choose to continue down the path of conflict, or we can seize this opportunity to create something new, a galactic society based on cooperation and shared progress, rather than dominance and fear." Her words struck a chord. Over the next several days, intense negotiations took place. Rodriguez found himself working closely with Ilara and other alien representatives, their shared experiences bridging gaps that had once seemed insurmountable. Finally, after countless hours of debate and compromise, a new accord was reached. The Galactic Concordat was born, an interstellar alliance with Earth as a founding member, dedicated to peaceful coexistence and collaborative advancement. As the final documents were signed, Rodriguez couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. The 500,000 dreadnoughts that had once been the vanguard of humanity's vengeance were now being repurposed. Some would become exploration vessels, others mobile research stations. All would serve as symbols of this new era of cooperation. Amidst the celebrations, a technician rushed up to Rodriguez, her face flushed with excitement. "Sir," she said, thrusting a datapad towards him, "we've detected a signal from the last known location of the Nexus." Rodriguez's heart raced as he studied the readings. "Assemble a team," he ordered. "We're going to investigate." Weeks later, a joint human-alien expedition approached the planet where the Nexus had last been seen. As they entered orbit, sensors detected a stable spatial anomaly at the site of the artifact's disappearance. As the expedition watched in awe, the anomaly pulsed with energy. Suddenly a figure emerged. A man, his body glowing faintly with residual Nexus energy. Rodriguez's breath caught in his throat as he recognized the face of Colonel Darren Burns. Burns's eyes, now swirling with cosmic energy, swept across the assembled team. When he spoke, his voice seemed to echo with the wisdom of ages. "The Nexus," he said, "was a test, created by an ancient race to challenge emerging civilizations, to see if they could set aside their differences and work together in the face of overwhelming odds." He smiled, a gesture both familiar and alien. "By choosing cooperation over conflict, you've passed that test, and now the true journey begins." As Burns shared his insights into the nature of the cosmos, Rodriguez felt a sense of anticipation building. The Galactic Concordat had been just the beginning. With the combined knowledge and resources of multiple species and the guidance of Burns and the secrets he'd unlocked, the possibilities seemed endless. Already, plans were being drawn up for massive terraforming projects on Mars and Venus. The Moon was being converted into a shipyard, producing a new generation of vessels designed for peaceful exploration. Earth itself was healing faster than anyone had dared hope, its recovery accelerated by the application of alien technologies and the lingering effects of the Nexus energy. Standing on the observation deck of the Unity Dome, Rodriguez watched as a fleet of ships prepared to embark on the first official mission of the Galactic Concordat. Vessels of human and alien design flew in formation, their crews a mix of species united by a common purpose. As the ships engaged their faster-than-light drives, creating a dazzling display against the backdrop of the Milky Way, Rodriguez felt a surge of pride and hope. They had survived extinction, turned enemies into allies, and now stood poised to explore the farthest reaches of the cosmos. The journey ahead would be long and filled with challenges, but for the first time in years the future looked bright. As the last ship disappeared into the depths of space, Rodriguez turned his gaze to the stars, wondering what new wonders awaited them in the vast, uncharted expanses of the universe. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.